Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Baggies Podcast. Today it's more of a rumour mill episode. We're going to be going through all the transfer rumours from the past week with the Albion and transfers that could potentially be coming in and out of the Hawthorns. Plenty to get stuck into. You guys giving your opinion on who you'd like us to sign, the recent rumours, and we've got some news regarding Philip Cruttle moving back to the Hawthorns after his impressive loan spell with us. So sit back, which is reliving our season, West Bromwich Albion, the story of our season 2019 to 20. That was the last episode. Go and check that out because it was an interesting one. But it's episode 5 of the Baggies Podcast, and we're ready to go. It's time for some transfer. The Baggies Podcast on YouTube, giving you the latest news, views, and opinions on all things Albion. Join me every week for a new episode of the Baggies Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Plenty of rumours to discuss in this episode of the Baggies Podcast. Plenty of rumours coming around the mill, as always, as there always is with West Bromwich Albion. Plenty of things to discuss. So, I think it's probably best we start with Filip Kravinovic's situation. So, Filip Kravinovic has been on loan with us, obviously, through the past season, and he's done a really good job. Not our starting centre attacking midfielder, but still a really good player. Obviously, still a very, very good player, and has done a very good job on loan from Benfica. So hopefully he's going to do something really good and sign for us in the Premier League. And I've heard reports that West Brom do not want to pay more than £10 million, which is €10 million, which is £9 million for Filip Kravinovic. And this has caused an obstacle in negotiations between Albion and Benfica. Kravinovic is eager to join the Baggies, but Benfica will not rush to sell for less than €10 million. It's difficult, isn't it? Because we've already had a loan deal rejected. Apparently, we've had a loan offer for him rejected because we want to take him on another season-long loan and then maybe think about buying him properly. And unfortunately, they've rejected that. So we're speaking to them again, apparently, with a view to buy. So we might loan him this season and then have him obligation to buy if we stay up. Maybe that's something that I'm a fan of myself. I think if we just hold off paying that money and if we survive, then we'll buy him because he's going to be a good player for us, nonetheless. I think he's one of those players that's going to adapt better to the Premier League. He's one of those players that when he has more time on the ball, he can be deadly. Same with Pereira. I think Pereira will flourish. Some of the games Pereira struggled where players were coming in and closing him down really aggressively, being a bit physical, and I think he struggled there. Same with Kravinovic. But when he's in the Premier League and he has more time and space, I think that's where you'll really see him come into his own, and that's where you'll see him, because he's a fantastic footballer. That's just sort of technically what he's good at. And there's lots of other rumours to go through, but Kravinovic is one of those players that would just be really good in the Premier League, and I think he'll adapt really well when he comes up, so hopefully he will, and hopefully we'll get that deal done. I'd prefer it to be a loan with a view to buy, so hopefully it'll work. And hopefully we'll be able to sign Filip Kravinovic because he is a decent player. And obviously you keep Pereira happy if you keep Kravinovic. They're like best friends, aren't they? Another rumour which has been making its way round the West Brom fan base is Shane Duffy. Apparently West Brom have been holding preliminary talks with Shane Duffy and Brighton and Hove Albion over a bid and a talks for him. So it's an interesting move. He's 28. I thought he was older than that, but he is a fantastic defender, in my opinion. Great in both areas, attacking the ball and defending the ball. I think him and Semi would provide a real good centre-back partnership. However, I would prefer to have Domagoj Vida instead of Duffy. I think Domagoj would be a different kind of centre-back than Duffy. However, I feel like if you'd want Duffy, why can't we just use Higazi? They're pretty similar players. I'm not sure about this one, to be honest. Not sure how I fit. Let's have a look at Shane Duffy's stats over the past few seasons, and let's see how he sits in that Brighton defence. He did play quite a lot before Graham Potter. He was a real big the management of Chris Hughton. So let's have a look at how he's been doing. This season not really played, but let's have a look at the seasons before. Last season he played 35 appearances, got 5 goals and an assist. He's obviously very good in the air. I feel that needs no introduction. You see the size of the man. He is huge. He is 193 centimetres. He is a big guy. And I feel like he would make a decent defender for us. It's just whether you can get Domagoj, you can get a different player for that sort of value. That's all. Because if you can get different players for that, then why don't you go and find somebody who perhaps is going to fit your system a bit more? Because Duffy is a decent defender, but is he going to fit the system that West Brom play? Is he going to fit? It depends what system we're going to play in the Premier League, I suppose, because we've been playing quite an open brand of football. Are we going to end up playing that? Or are we going to revert to perhaps a more boring football? But I trust in Slaven, and I trust with what he's doing with his budget. He knows. If you saw the transfer he made when we came, you think, oh, Semi Ajayi for £1.5 million. I haven't got a clue who that is. Is he going to be any good? Or Darnell Furlong for £2 million? Is he going to be anything? Any good? He's quite cheap. Maybe he's just going to be a bit rubbish. So that's sort of what we're going to be looking. And Shane Duffy is a good defender. He's a great pound-for-pound defender. There's been no price mentioned at the moment. That's the only thing. So I'd say any more than 5 or 6 million for him, I think, would stretch. So we'll have a look and see how that develops over the course of the next few weeks. And obviously it'll probably change. There'll be different deals coming in and things like that. Another thing is Kamil Grosicki has apparently been this is the aftermath of it. Apparently people have been saying Kamil Grosicki's in Besiktas. Oh no, he's going to move. He's in Istanbul. Maybe he's going to move to Besiktas. And he has put on Twitter recently that it's the Turkish media trying to hype something out of nothing, taking things. You have to take things with a pinch of salt with that sort of media. But Kamil Grosicki has come out and said, these in Polish, but it's translated. I am in Istanbul and I have a good time with my family. Nothing else happens at West Bromwich Albion. I don't see how they managed to twist that. Just because he's in Istanbul, I mean, just because I go to Spain for a week doesn't mean I'm automatically going to sign for Barcelona or something like that. It's Turkish media trying to make something out of nothing, really. Kamil's our player. He's going to hopefully feature in the Premier League. I'd like to see him feature because he did a really good job towards the end of the West Bromwich Albion season when he was given the chance. So hopefully I'd like to see him getting involved in the Premier League, and that will go quite well for him. I mean, he's going to be a good player. He was a really good player when Hull were last in the Premier League, so hopefully that will happen yet again. Another thing is 18-year-old Albion keeper Josh Griffiths is set for a loan move to Chelsea England under-18s. Shot-stopper would gain valuable experience at a League One club pushing. He's I don't know, but I can't say I've heard of him before, but I'm always a big advocate of getting loan experience out. And that brings me on to something that I wanted to talk about, which was Alex Palmer. And I think that he should be given the job as second-string goalkeeper. I don't know, maybe Bond might want to go and get some game time elsewhere, maybe at a championship club, because he is championship quality in all fairness, Bond. But maybe Alex Palmer might want to go and be the number 2 this season. That would be nice to see. He's just come back from a really good promotion-winning season with Plymouth. It's whether Slaven sends him out on loan again, and obviously that's going to be interesting to see. And maybe it'll work. But hopefully, this lad Josh Griffiths goes and does a good job wherever he is going. I know I've just said about the Turkish media spinning a story out of virtually nothing. Transsponsor have had a look at Ollie Burke of West Bromwich Albion. Ollie Burke just confuses me a bit as a player, because he had that really good run in the Premier League in our final season. He had that really good run where he got a few assists, a couple of goals, and he looked like he was going to be a pivotal part of the Championship season. Obviously Slaven doesn't see it that way, and it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how that happens, because Ollie, he's a good player. He's a young lad, but I think he might be seen out the door at some point. But now it's time to take a look at what you guys think about some transfers, and I'm going to react to what you guys think. So I asked you guys these questions. I asked you, who would you like to see brought into the Hawthorns this summer? Who would you like to see leave the Hawthorns this summer? And how much would you pay within budget for a top-class centre-forward? So let's start off with the first answer for this question, which was from, if I can actually find it, it's from WBA Josh. And he says, number 1, realistically, I want a new striker, new wingers and a new left-back. the people he'd like to see leave the Hawthorns would be Burke, Zahor, Field and Lecco on loan, and Austin, and 20 million seems realistic for a good striker. For me, we do. I wouldn't say 2 new wingers. I think we'll be all right if we maybe pick up somebody on. Well, I suppose if we pick 1 winger on loan and then get another winger on a perhaps reduced, a decent fee. Burke and Zahor have to go for me. I like Kenneth Zahor. I'll say it now. I like him as a player. He just doesn't fit in our system, just hasn't worked out for him here. Cost us a decent amount of championship money if you think about it. If you think about £8 million, how much that takes out of a budget in for a championship club, it's quite a lot, and he hasn't repaid that price tag. I'm afraid he has to go for me. We'll be lucky to get 4 or 5 out of that, I think. Field and Lecco on loan, definitely. I might want to keep Field, maybe even Lecco. I might want to keep them as squad players, because if you think about it, if we're looking for new wingers, surely Lecco offers you something a bit different, maybe. So maybe I'd want to keep Field or Lecco. I like Field; he's a really tidy player, but maybe there are others that can do his job in the squad. So maybe it's beneficial that he goes out and gets some loan experience. Austin, I'd like to keep him around. I personally think 2 other strikers have to come in. But Austin can still stay around the squad. I feel like Carney might have to go, but Bilic likes him a lot, so maybe that can't be really the case. 20 million for a striker for a good Premier League. I'm talking, Josh is right here. 20 million for a good striker is going to do a great job, I think. If you think about if it's a Premier League proven striker, I'd pay 20 million up front. Maybe Callum Wilson, somebody like that, 20 million. There you go, spread your hand off. I would not pay 20 million for somebody like Mariki. I'd pay 15 for Mariki, but you can't be sort of spending that sort of money and having no guarantee that they're going to score goals in the division, which is what essentially you're paying a striker to do. You shouldn't really be paying for them if you don't think they're going to start doing the jobs that you think they're going to do. Now for some more tweets from you guys. Obviously you guys are very interactive with this podcast, so thank you very much for giving your input. So it's now time to read what Tony Ferrugia said about what he thinks about the questions that I asked on Twitter yesterday. Slaven knows what we need with a proven striker with genuine quality centre-backs with leadership, mentality and good creative centre midfielders. Yes, absolutely hitting the nail on the head, really. If he gets some good quality players in, I think that we're looking at survival, maybe 3rd quartile. I hate for us to see us go down after just coming up. I feel like this is one of the better footballing squads that we've played in quite a while. I think it would be a shame if we went down straight away. I feel like we just need to stay up this season. That's all we want. Stay up, and then we'll build on that and maybe go into 3rd quartile the season after. And obviously, as Tony said, with those sorts of players, that's exactly what we can get. Paul Garbutt has come in again and with his answer, and this is how he thinks. This is who he thinks we should sign. He says we should sign Shane Duffy from Brighton, Filip Krovinovic, Divock Origi, Liverpool striker. Good shout actually, but I'm not sure they'll want to part ways with somebody like him. Jack Clark, Spurs winger on loan. Stephen Brender, who's a goalkeeper from Swansea. I can't say I've heard of him actually. Is he first team? Let me go and have a look, because I don't actually. For once, I don't have a clue who I'm talking about. But let's have a look at Stephen Is it Brender? I'm not sure how we say that. I think it's Bender. I have. Yeah, some good options in there. Divock Origi is a nice shout from Paul there. I think he would bed into our squad quite well. I think he would do us a good job. Leaving, Paul says, Robson Carney, Raheem Harper, Zahor, Phillips, Austin, Gibbs, Peltier, Burke, Barry, Lecco and Field. So let's go through that list. Robson Carney for me has to go. I don't think I could. I'm not a fan of him in particular, and I don't think I can deal with him playing in the Premier League. I don't think he's good enough, if I'm being honest. I like his attitude. He's very hard working, but for me, not in the Premier League. Harper, I'd like to see us keep Harper as a squad player, maybe even send him out on loan if that's a need. I don't think, if we can get really good money for him, but I can't see us getting more than 5 million because he's yet to prove himself at any level. Zahor, yeah, for me, got to go. Phillips, if you can get 5 million out of Phillips, I think that's a fantastic, deal. I'd keep him as a secondary striker or a backup. Gibbs, yeah, I think it's about Gibbs' time to move on. He's not consistent with his fitness, I don't think. I love him as a player. He's a fantastic player. A bit limited defensively, but for me he's a fantastic player. But unfortunately, sorry to Kieran, but he sort of ran his race in the Albion side, and that's nothing of his fault. He's just got a lot of injury problems, and that can't make him reliable. So if we can get Anthony Robinson for £1.5 million from Wigan, I'll take that every day of the week. Peltier, yeah, he's probably him, Barry and Bruns, obviously, I think are going to move on. Burke, if you can get £5 million out of him, what a fantastic signing that'll be. We'll take that every day of the week again. Leconfield, I think a loan deal is probably the way to go. 15 million on a striker, Paul says. Yeah, I think if we can get somebody like Callum Wilson for 15 million, but Slaven knows what he's doing. You've got to trust him, in all fairness. You've got to make sure he knows he knows what he's doing. So obviously we can trust in Slaven. I actually think we have put in a little sort of name that we sort of put our names in the hat with Callum Wilson. So Callum Wilson would be a fantastic signing. I like him a lot as a player. It'd just be weird if we can get him. I think I'm not sure whether we'll be able to get him in. It's going to be a strange one, and apparently Southampton, Crystal Palace and Leicester are all interested in signing Grady Dean Garner. That's not going to be good. I think they'll be willing to match 20 million that West Ham are holding out for, whereas we probably won't be able to get. It'd be a shame if we lose him, personally. Callum Wilson, but I'd love to see Grady back at the Hawthorn team playing Premier League football. He just fits our system so much. I think if we can maybe go and get Watkins, perhaps. I think is it an £18 million release clause? I'll pay that, bite your hand off with that for Watkins. His movement is fantastic. I think his movement is fantastic. You see in the Brentford side, he'd fit our system perfectly. I think it would be wonderful, and it'd be wonderful to see him join us at the Hawthorns. Domagoj Vida is another one that I really would like to see here, and somebody's put this down as a sort of a thing about the transfer budget. Somebody's put this, it's Andy Reid on Twitter, and I've just found this tweet, and he's put Vida for 6 million, Anthony Robinson for 1.5, Krovinovic for loan, Dean Garner / Callum Robinson loan, so one or the other I assume, Eze for 12 million plus Phillips, maybe, yeah, that might work. Adam Liacic from I think that's Das for £7 million. Keeper for free, maybe Joe Hart. Striker for 10 to 15 million. 42 million spent, with about 12 to 16 coming in with the money for Ferguson on top 8. Yeah, maybe that would work. I like that idea. I like the sort of strategy there that Andy's put out there. I think that'd be good. Those would be some good signings, personally. But that does bring us to the end of the Baggies podcast. We discussed plenty of rumours. My head is virtually spinning after looking at all those, but pleased with the sort of progress we made here, and sort of the rumours that I'm seeing some really good names tossed about. There's no rubbishins really being tossed about. All of these players that are being tossed about I'd probably take for a reasonable price. So that brings us to the end of the podcast, the 5th episode of the Baggies podcast. Make sure you go on Twitter, share this around, go and follow us on whatever you can on there. But if you want to follow us on Spotify podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that sort of jazz, subscribe to us on YouTube. It would be greatly appreciated if you've enjoyed the podcast, share us around on Twitter. We're always looking for new Baggies listeners. And thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in episode 6. Goodbye.